you're seeing Christians under attack throughout the Middle East, throughout Africa, slaughters of Christians, which are being largely unreported and largely not even taken seriously. The UN, which has largely been, again, very supportive of radical Islamic agenda, had from the beginning of the Palestinian debate going back, 30 or 40 years, the UN has not speaking up for Christians the way it would be expected to speak up for Islam.
And that's because Christians are politically incorrect. Christians need to just roll over and die or become Marxist conduits, or we will be destroyed.
The choice are, first, what's acceptable politically is you can be an atheist, or you can be, certainly Islam is not being criticized by the left, but any true Christianity is viewed as being portrayed as bigoted, being, portrayed as out of touch with reality.
Well, Christianity is what caused basically the modern Renaissance and inclusiveness and the Reformation, as you were getting at. And it's just, they've taken the fruits of that and are now bringing in a totalitarianism. In closing, what do you make separately?
We've been through this before with the ancient Roman Empire. Ancient Roman Empire had, Christianity was the solution to the violence, the paganism, and the anything goes kind of attitude, value relativism, that it produced the chaos of the ancient world. And Christianity largely brought the ancient world into a Reformation, the Enlightenment, and the modern world. Now we're going the opposite direction. We're going back to moral relativism. We're saying that any attitudes people have, regardless of what they want to believe or not believe, or have sexually or not have sexually, is within their preference, and they're all constitutionally protected, except if you want to believe in Jesus Christ and profess Christianity.
I was about to say there's that paradox where anything goes except if we say it doesn't, and then it's totalitarianism.
The left is not going to be tolerant. It's not going to be classically liberal. It doesn't believe in a First Amendment. It believes that if you don't adhere to the left's principles, you need to go to thought reform, because you are not only incorrect, you're evil, you've got to be crushed, you've got to be abused. That's what they do to you, Alex. It's what they do to me on the left, because
these people are sick. Dr. Corsi, I know you've got to go, but we're back in 60 seconds. See if you can do like 3 more minutes to put bookends on this and finish up on where you think Obama's going, this election, the power grabbing. I want to get some final comments, WND.com. I want to get his take on stuff like New York City Council considers allowing non-citizens to vote. Illinois is doing that as well. Court moles receiving and revealing secret government plan to cut cell phone service. I wanted to put bookends on the Iran geopolitical situation. Then I wanted to come back in the next longer 12-minute segment and get into the other issues, cover the waterfront. But Dr. Corsi, Boehner was just in Israel, and he said the world's on fire. It was interesting to see him tell the truth for a change as he helps Obama keep Obamacare in and the rest of it. But am I wrong, or is the political elite getting more reckless or feckless? What's going on? Because I really try to track their activities, and more it seems like they don't know what they're doing.
Well, I think you've got the last 2 years here of the Obama administration, and there's kind of a rush to the finish line to see how many agendas on the radical left can be put into place by fiat, by executive order, or certainly with a dysfunctional Congress unable to oppose. Boehner and McConnell in the Senate are not able very effectively to oppose Obama. So the left feels it's got a free run to the finish here to open the borders, which they're doing very aggressively, to weaken the support for Israel. I think the Middle East will continue to descend into chaos, and Iran will now advance to nuclear weapons with more money to support its terrorist activities once the sanctions are lifted. The international situation is desperate. I think Christians should not even contemplate going to the Middle East for hardly any reason. Still safe to visit Israel, but again, I wouldn't go much beyond Israel in the Middle East. It's a desperate situation of chaos, and the world is on fire. You've got Russia in the same time exerting its influence, opposing NATO. I think we're much closer to a nuclear war than we've ever been since maybe the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962. And the nature of the nuclear war, I think, is coming, will be more of a local or regional nuclear war, where Russia may use a nuclear weapon against one of the Baltic states, or you may end up with an Israel strike on Iran, which turns into a nuclear exchange. These things are possible now. And if Iran gets nuclear weapons or appears to be imminently getting nuclear weapons, the other countries like Saudi Arabia will begin working immediately with Pakistan to get nuclear weapons. And the entire regional conflict in the Middle East will go from chaos and conventional weapons very quickly to chaos with nuclear weapons.
Those are really strong words, but a lot of analysts are saying the same thing, that we've never been in more danger, that this is worse than the Cuban Missile Crisis. You've got the Russians and the United States and Israel trying to legitimize the use of tactical nuclear weapons, which it seems is really hard to keep control of. It's just a crazy time. And then I'm no fan of Putin, but then I'm really no fan of Soros helping stir up Ukraine. It just seems like America really has lost moral high ground, and we're now just down there with the rest of them. It just seems like a degeneration.
Well, the chaos, and again, the whole moral relativism of the left, the chaos that comes from the kind of breakdown of structures, moral structures and structures that have traditionally defined the post-war world, we're entering into a very kind of fluid period of time. I mean, I don't think the EU is going to stay together. I think Greece is on the way out. If the EU begins to break up, we're going to see, again, a return to the problems, the fiscal problems that we had worldwide in 2008, 2009. I think the coming problems with the magnitude of world debt that there is today are going to dwarf what we saw in 2008.
And that's my next question. I want to come back on the economy, which you've got a degree in from Harvard, a doctorate. I want to look, Dr. Corsi, at another Harvard alumni, Larry Summers, saying this is why the U.S. lost its superpower status, according to Larry Summers, with the new China investment bank. I want to look at the big global view straight ahead with Dr. Jerome Corsi. I'm Alex Jones. Video, it's up on drudgereport.com. We're linking to it on Infowars.com. Bees swarm, interrupts Obama storytelling, children scream. Isn't that interesting? Meanwhile, smart meters to bust water abusers in California. Water company to ration supplies for 26 cities to train you to accept higher prices. That's what that's really all about. More scientists doubt salt as bad for you as government says. I have a stack of news. I'm going to be getting into some of the news also up on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. Dr. Jerome Corsi is our guest. Since you are an economist, I wanted to get into this investment bank that first the U.S. wasn't going to be part of. Now it is, that's led by the communist Chinese. Larry Summers has come out in an op-ed piece, Zero Hedge has it, and said basically, we haven't joined global government enough. We haven't been enthusiastic enough, even though we've helped lead it. So we're going to be left behind by the Asian Union. Meanwhile, U.S. Defense Chief says influence at risk without Asia Trade Pact. That's Reuters. That's what the globalists said in the 70s. We'll create the Asian Union, European Union, American Union, have those unions compete, run by the same people, getting people to give up more and more of their power to a central group, claiming that'll make us prosperous as we actually become enslaved and signed on to the global derivatives overhang. And that's been the plan since 1976, the Trilateral Commission. And then here's Larry Summers in this amazing piece, Time U.S. Leadership Woke Up to the New Economic Era, when he's the author of so much of the derivatives. What an amazing time to be alive and to have this Asia Pan-Pacific Trade Pact that's secret, that we can't even see. The Trans-Pacific Partnership. I mean, this is everything you wrote about and went on Lou Dobbs about, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, Dr. Corsi, and got scoffed at. It's all coming true. I mean, this is amazing. Dr. Corsi, what's really going on geopolitically right now, and what's happening with this new investment bank?
Well, a lot of what I did write about, like Great USA, which was, 10 years ago, is happening now. What you're reading about the Asian bank is just the prelude to the attempting to create fear. Larry Summers is out there saying, oh, we're losing to China. They're having their own investment bank. You're right. All these international banks are run by the same group of globalists. But the long-term plan is, here Obama's going to come in now next and ask for fast-track authority to get this Trans-Pacific Partnership approved, another deal we don't know anything about that's been negotiated in secret. And the solution will be, oh, well, we have to have a supra-Pacific, not just NAFTA. We'll subsume NAFTA into a Pacific Rim NAFTA, and then we'll involve China, and this will be the solution to the fact that we're getting excluded from China's Asia Bank. So all Larry Summers is doing is trying to create fear so that the globalists can jam the next global solution down everybody's throat, which is the Trans-Pacific Partnership. And I suspect we'll be seeing now, this is the prelude, very quickly, the next crisis, the next manufactured news that the Obama administration will use to push the last crisis off the front page, which is, Valerie Jarrett's been very good at manufacturing news so that nothing sticks, will be this: we're losing to Asia, we're losing our global position, so we need a Trans-Pacific Partnership, which just gives more power to the globalists and less freedom and autonomy to the United States.
And less jobs and more of a planned, managed economy over and over again, which you wrote about, I made films about. We've been talking about this for 20 years or longer, not because we're rocket scientists, but because it's an admitted plan. I mean, look at Europe having their leaders installed. You're predicting the EU breaks up. How do you see all this ending? Because what I've read from the Trilateral Commission plans that are public, and what Senator Goldwater talked about in some of the secretive Senate meetings that he was in, this was openly discussed, they create 3 global unions,
right?
Use those to suck dry the 3 unions, collapse those into one global super state run by private corporations that are anti-free market. Is that an accurate analysis?
Yeah, I think so. I think also Russia wants to play, and Russia's going to, the breakup of the EU will not be a reduction of globalism. It won't be the individual countries going back to individual autonomy and self-governance. It'll be Russia coming in to bail out Greece. And as such, Russia will want to include Greece in its alignment, and you'll have a Russian union that stands outside the global union that China seems to be willing to agree to grow. I mean, China and Russia, they may both be communist states. They're not on the same side of the table. Russia's always been closer to Japan and aligned with Japan, even since World War II. When we ran merchant marine ships to Lend-Lease to Russia, and Japan let them go. Russia and Japan have been closely aligned. Russia and China are at odds. You're going to see an EU structure that weakens and gets pushed into the transatlantic alliance, while the Trans-Pacific alliance is going to be advanced, and before you know it, we'll be in global governance again. And none of these global governances will have anything to do with freedom or the Bill of Rights or the Second Amendment or the First Amendment or the Fourth Amendment, because that in the cultural war attack that you're seeing from the left is also being eradicated and undermined by saying, well, if you don't agree with the LGBT agenda, you're a bigot. If you believe in Christianity, you're not only...
If you want any type of borders and don't want to pay for everybody's free health care, you're a racist. If you don't want illegals voting, you're a racist. Just give in to our globalist agenda or you're a bad person.
Because the fundamental order that has to be broken down, that the left is now working aggressively to break down, is the United States of America as supporting freedom, First Amendment, the Bill of Rights, our limited government, and being, since the end of World War II, a power that could impose that kind of a moral business structure, a capitalist structure upon the world. That viewed as evil is being broken down, and what will replace it is globalism. And under globalism, everybody better start reading George Orwell and Aldous Huxley.
That's right. Piratical combines that are the opposite of free market, while scapegoating free market as what we're seeing under globalism.
And producing 100 million people in the United States who are out of work, out of the labor force, and not needed. And in the history of the world, when the average person, when the middle class has been defined as not needed,
look out.
You set up the perfect conditions for genocide, for mass disease, for nuclear war, because you'll find the globalists talking about there's just too many people in the world and they're useless. The 100 million people, 1/3 of the U.S. population, the working population, more than 1/3, not able to find a job and just basically economically
And they're setting up death panels and telling the yuppies how cool it is to kill your mom and dad. And then meanwhile, our videos up on drugsreport.com, UN climate change official says we should, quote,